Powerful bomb cyclone is sitting off the coast of Washington tonight, and this is going to bring some impacts to areas in the Pacific Northwest and along the West Coast over the next 48 hours, including the potential for very heavy snowfall, which could accumulate up to 100 inches of snow in the higher elevations, in addition to flooding rainfall potential and high winds that could lead to power outages. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about this powerful storm in the Pacific Northwest. And before we go too far into this video, I do want to mention that this is our second channel, More Max Velocity, so make sure to subscribe down below if you've not already. This channel is going to be used a bit more for educational content and very more specific things, kind of like this, where we're really going more into detail about a specific weather event. So this right here is a very intense low pressure system on the geocolor satellite this evening. You'll notice that the sun is setting here. Obviously, that shadow is now going over this particular low pressure system. Notice all this dry air that is filtering into the low, and this, by the way, is again a bomb cyclone, which means that the pressure has dropped by at least 24 millibars over the last 24 hours. Well, it's actually well exceeded that, because this right here has gone from about 1,000 millibars as of last night down to 950 millibars at the time I'm recording this forecast. Now, this is going to turn into a full-blown atmospheric river event where it's going to penetrate tons of rainfall into areas like California, Washington, and as well as Oregon over the next 24 to 48 hours, and flooding is going to become a concern. And this right here is our atmospheric river setup, where we have a jet stream coming from the Pacific Ocean moving inland into areas in the Pacific Northwest, and we are going to see this weather pattern continue for the next several days. It's actually going to continue probably until about Sunday of this upcoming weekend, so we are going to see a good 4 to 5 days here of rainfall across parts of the West Coast. Now, that's not all going to fall in the same area, but at least over the next 48 hours, we're expecting some of the worst of it to be in areas like Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. Now, this is over the next several hours. Notice how we have a very intense low pressure system just offshore of Washington. This will be staying west of Washington, meaning that this is just going to continue to dump a ton of rain, but this particular low pressure system isn't going to quote unquote make landfall in Washington tonight. And I also want to point out that this pressure, 944 millibars later this evening, is actually about a category 4 type intensity when it comes to a hurricane. Now, this isn't producing category 4 type impacts when it comes to winds, but it is obviously still very notable because we don't see this very often. As we go into Wednesday into Thursday, this will start to move more to the north and northwest, but despite that, we are going to see another trough try to develop on the south side of that, bringing even more rainfall to areas in California, Washington, and Oregon. And then eventually, as we go into the weekend, another system will crash into California, bringing additional rainfall and snowfall to the higher elevations. Now, these are the watches and warnings across the country. Again, notice that the entire Pacific Northwest, including Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, all under some sort of different watch or warning. Many of those areas are at least under some sort of high wind warning or advisory, so definitely make sure that you are aware of that tonight. There will be a potential for some power outages. Now, the winds are going to ramp up over the next few hours. I think the worst of the wind will be between about now until about midnight and just after midnight tonight, and notice the wind speeds just offshore as high as 90 miles per hour up and down the Washington and Oregon coastline. Even some areas in the higher elevations inland will also get upwards of 80 to 90 mile per hour winds. So again, power outage is definitely a possibility. If you're in a more of a low-lying area, your wind potential not nearly as high, but several areas will at least see somewhere between 30 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts tonight. Eventually, as we go into tomorrow, the wind will die down somewhat, and it's going to start to pick up more here in parts of Western California, upwards of 40 to 55 miles per hour. So for the next several hours, snow and rain is going to ramp up and continue into the overnight hours, and eventually, as we go into tomorrow, you'll notice that atmospheric river, all that moisture and rain is going to be penetrating mostly into Oregon and as well as California late tomorrow night into Thursday morning, and eventually as we go later into Thursday into Friday, a lot of that will start to focus more on California. So in terms of total rainfall accumulation, a lot of areas in Northern California will be picking up anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of rain between now and Thursday afternoon. So that's a lot of rain in a short amount of time. Turn around, don't drown on the roadways. Washington and Oregon will also pick up their fair share of rainfall. Not nearly as significant, but there will definitely be some isolated to scattered flooding across parts of western Washington and western Oregon. The higher elevations will have a potential for some relatively significant snowfall. Notice areas back over northern California. We might even see a couple of spots pick up as much as 100 inches of snow by the time this is all said and done. And again, that's only for the next 48 hours. So even beyond the next 48 hours, there will be more snowfall in parts of northern California, and that will likely accumulate even further. Now, beyond on this particular system over the next couple of days, as I mentioned before, we're going to see another low pressure system crash into California as we go into Saturday and into early Sunday. That'll bring even more rain and snow as we go into Sunday, and eventually by the time we go into Monday into Tuesday of next week, that'll probably start to become a bit more of a system to watch for in the Midwest. So we'll be watching that very closely as this eventually moves more to the east. And then also for total rainfall accumulation between now and Monday, so this is for the next 5 to 6 days. Again, notice Northern California is going to be picking up a lot of rain. Several spots expected to pick up as much as 10 to 15 inches of rainfall. If you do enjoy videos like this that are more in detail about specific regions, definitely let me know down in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here and like the video.